So I had a soft Saturday night plan. Pretty easy. Watch the Knicks and Hawks play Game 4 of their NBA basketball contest in Atlanta. Knicks collect the W. Go Knicks. That would segue nicely into the White House Correspondents Dinner in Washington, D.C. at the Hilton Hotel. President Trump, he was the guest of honor, had never attended as the president. He was a guest back in 2011 when he was a civilian. If you remember, he was roasted about ever becoming president by then President Obama. And they say that was the impetus for Trump to run for president of the United States in the first place. A story for another day. I was also preparing some videos, putting together some research on the terrific draft class the New York Giants had. I digress again. But my plans were pushed to the back burner when there was a shooting at the White House Correspondents Dinner at that Hilton Hotel. Thank goodness no one was hurt. An officer of the law was shot, but his bulletproof vest protected him, and he'll be A-OK in the end. Over 2,500 people in attendance for that event tonight. President Trump unharmed. You can see the scene here as his security advisors tell him and the others on the dais what's going on. People ducked for cover under their tables as the shooting happened outside, and the reported shooter, this whack job, 31-year-old Cole Allen. You see it in the headline from the New York Post, a California teacher ID'd as White House Correspondents Dinner shooter. So now he will face the wrath of the law. And again, the good thing, no one hurt. Another good thing, he wasn't hurt. They will trace every conceivable step and connection he had, possibly. They say he may come off as a lone wolf, but it's early in the investigation. In other words, every minute, second this man has spent his life leading up to this moment will be reviewed, as well as anyone, any group, any other place in the world, anything domestically, he's tied to. And again, he is alive. So they will pick his brain and interrogate him till the cows come home, so to speak. Now, the event was canceled. President Trump, he wanted to troop on, but for security concerns, and understandably, they needed to take a rain check on this one and put it off for another day to be determined. But he did gather his staff and the press, made it back to the White House, and did a press conference. And here's what he had to say on his initial thoughts about the shooting tonight.
I heard a noise and sort of thought it was a tray. I thought it was a tray going down. I've heard that many times, and it was a pretty loud noise. And it was from quite far away. He hadn't breached the area at all. They really got him. But so it was quite far away, but it was a gun. And some people really understood that pretty quickly. Other people didn't. I was watching to see what was happening. Probably should have gone down even faster. Melania was very cognizant, I think, of what happened. I think she knew immediately what happened. She was saying, that's a bad noise.
President Trump also had praise, not only for law enforcement, but he had praise for the media and the coverage of the event, especially afterward. Take a look and listen as POTUS shares some props.
And again, the performance of the Secret Service and the police, all of the law enforcement, I thought was really good. So it was very quick. There wasn't a lot of time to be thinking because it was a matter of seconds before we were out the door and gone into an area. I also want to thank the press, the media. You've been very responsible in your coverage. I will say I've been seeing what's been out, and you've been very responsible.
And you know, I had a strange thought. I'm not the only one. President Trump also had it. I was kind of thinking as this was happening toward the end of it and the facts were coming out, how everyone, hundreds of reporters, journalists, activists, excuse me, microphone, were in that room. And they were sharing that moment, unfortunately. They were all victims at once. Everyone had a target on their back, whether you're the right, you're the left, you're down the middle, and they got a taste of what it is to be President Trump in a sense when bullets are coming after you, because that nut job went in firing at anyone he could, with the intended target being the President of the United States. In other words, maybe it does bring everyone together, because in that moment, everyone was sort of equal. President Trump kind of sort of touched on that in his own way. Here's a final listen to POTUS 47.
An event dedicated to freedom of speech that was supposed to bring together members of both parties with members of the press. And in a certain way it did, because the fact that they just unified, I saw a room that was just totally unified. It was in one way a very beautiful thing.
This is exactly why you need to have the White House ballroom, so you can hold events at America's house where there are going to be the highest safety protocols in the world.